If you would like to know how to create this massive stitched steampunk album, then stay tuned and I will show you how. Hi, here's Max. As I got many questions about my last one, I have a new stitched and very chunky album for you today. I will show you the techniques I used for the pages, the binding and the cover after a small showcase. Because this is a very long video compared to my others, I will offer a list of skip marks in the description box below. So let's get started. The album is 9.5 by 10.5 by 4 3/4, and so it is a real colossus. The first page is kind of a folio that folds twice from the middle to the outside. Both parts are held together with a paper ribbon that has a magnet closure. Likewise, everything else in this album, these ribbons are also stitched. As the paper is already very busy itself, I try to avoid any further excessive embellishments. On the next page, the upper flap is held by a die-cut gear, which can be turned to release the flap. Underneath, we have another flap that is held onto the next flap by a magnet closure again. And after the following flap, we reach the basis of the page that holds a photo mat in a small pocket with a decorative border. As you can already see, this album offers a lot of space for even big-sized photos. And of course, we have a large photo mat in every side pocket of each page. On the next page, we have a quad fold of 4 small pages layered on top of each other and opening to all 4 sides of the base page. And also here they are held together by a magnet closure on the top flap. Next we have an envelope-shaped fold with 2 decorative edges on the flaps that open upwards and downwards. And all this is layered on an element that you may remember from my Halloween slider card. And so you will see the link to this popping up now in the info card somewhere here at the edge. Next we have a belly band holding a photo mat. Another die-cut gear prevents the mat from slipping through. The flap with the band opens to the left and reveals 2 other flaps that open to the left and right again. The closure again is a little paper ribbon with a magnet closure hidden in the gear. And also on the next page we see alternating magnet and spin gear closures, revealing more and more space for photos and all kinds of souvenirs. To keep it simple, 2 golden feathers are the only embellishment here. And underneath we find another pocket with another photo mat. And of course also here we have another photo mat in the side pocket. On the following page we find 2 pockets attached to each of the flaps on top and the bottom of the page. Each of the pockets holds a small photo mat in the shape of the pocket that is slightly standing out. On the base of the page I took a die-cut piece from the paper collection, put some self-adhering jewels on it and then adhered it to the page so that a photo can slide underneath. And surely the upper flap is held again by a magnet. Also on the next page a photo can be tucked under the die-cut piece with the gears to merge with the page. The other flaps can be opened again to the top and the bottom and show even more of the wonderful masculine design paper. Anyway, overall the whole album would fit perfectly for Father's Day. And of course, another photo mat in the side pocket again. The next page has 2 big envelopes that turn out to be flaps as soon as you open them. They reveal another page underneath, building 2 pockets where we can find 2 tags for further photos and or journaling. Next I played a little bit with the forms and created 2 triangles covering another flap. Behind that we again have a pocket with a decorative edge and a large photo mat. And surely another mat in the side. And all this is followed again by another standard page with alternating magnet and gear closures. Altogether, tons of space for a lot of stuff to remember. The next page is very simple and only holds 2 pockets with tags for journaling. Nevertheless, smaller photos can be put on top, also sliding under the little tag that I took from the die-cut pieces of the collection again. Next, another belly band with a photo mat underneath. And also a gear avoiding the mat from falling off the page. This time I did not use a decorative edge die for this, but an ornament label punch, of which I only used the long sides to create that border. And the closure is a ribbon this time, where I adhered some gears on top and again inserted a magnet into the inner gear. And then again we have the 2 flaps folding to each side. The last page is closed by half of a bigger label die cut piece and a Velcro dot. To make it easier to lift it up, I put a piece of ribbon under the Velcro dot. The last flaps are again some bigger ones to even take oversize photos. And how I managed to cover the closure of the album without being noticed from the inside, I will show you just in a second, so just stay tuned. And here a last glance on the back cover with the closing rope. And some of you may recall the spine. This is the big brother of the faux leather album that I did recently, which I will also link in the info cards. And here is the tutorial. We need a 17.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock. This is folded at 1 and 9.25 to build a pocket with a flap to close it. I used one 12 by 12 and 2 8 by 8 packs of the old paper collection by Ursus. And we are starting with the inner part of the second page, for which I'm creating the pocket first. The technique is the same throughout the album, and so I will only show you 2 pages here, not to waste your time. All pages need to be created from the outside to the inside to cover the hinges of the flaps under the design paper. Here I'm cutting the paper in 2 pieces, adhering the smaller to the pocket, and then the pocket to the bigger piece on the outside flaps of the pocket piece. Next, we are adhering the larger flaps to the base page. I am using liquid glue here, as for me it gives the best and the long-lasting results. I am smearing it with my fingers so that it is even, thin, and will dry much quicker. As soon as both flaps are in place, I'm covering the hinges with the pocket piece we did before. Then I'm trimming the corners and edges with a circle and a border punch. All the gears that you've seen before are made out of gold foil that is adhered to a piece of cardboard. I'm using alcohol inks to create the old and tarnished look. And I'm using the blending solution to create the spotty appearance. Then I'm using some gear dies to create lots of these gears. Then I'm sanding them before I'm cutting them into the shape I need. And here's the secret of the magnet closure. The magnet should not be too close to the edge, especially if you want to sew it like me. I'm using tape to fix it on one side and also for placing the counter piece onto the other side. Simply use a piece of tape upside down and place the magnet onto it. Turn the page and press the tape onto the page. Et voila! Just a little bit of liquid glue to secure it for eternity. Then we can follow up with the design paper and adhere it to the done pages. But on top there is another small flap that first needs to be adhered to cover its hinges as well. As this small one is not closed by a magnet, it can be immediately covered with the design paper and sewed right away. Then I'm adhering it and covering its hinge with the design paper piece. To create the gear closure, I'm punching a hole into the lower flap and fix the gear with a brad. Once this is fixed at the back, this side can be covered with the paper and sewed afterwards. And on the flip side we have the quad fold. I already sewed all 4 pieces and now I'm adhering them one by one. And again, all 4 hinges will again be covered with the design paper. After that, the edges can be sewed as well. And honestly, I love this, as it gives a small but very classy extra to the whole album. But let's have a look at the inside. I'm covering the seams with some tape so that they will not hamper the photo mats from sliding in and out of the pockets afterwards. And finally, I'm closing the page by using the liquid glue again. But what about the photo mats? I'm using an edge die for them and adhering the design paper first. And here I will show you the secret of the sewing. Actually, this is nothing special. I'm simply using a medium zigzag stitch and going around the page. To secure the threads and give it a nice and neat look, I'm pulling them onto one side and securing them with a knot. Additionally, I'm using a piece of tape and covering everything with a die-cut piece from the collection. And this is exactly how every single page in this album is done. Before we are starting now with the cover, I'm creating the binding first. I'm scoring an 8 by 17 inch piece of cardstock in clusters of 2 1/2-inch scores and 1 of 3/4. In total, I'm ending up with 6 of these clusters, 1 for each page. And I'm leaving 3 inches before and after the hinges. Next, I'm adhering the 1/2-inch pieces, ending up with 6 hinges separated by 3/4 spacing in between. Everything will be pressed firmly, flipped over several times and then set aside for a while. I'm using thick cardboard here for the cover and adhering them with cloth tape. All edges will be covered with double-sided tape and the fronts will be covered evenly with matte medium gel. Then I'm removing the cover paper of the tape and adhering the cardstock onto the cardboard. All will be pressed very firmly again before I'm cutting the corners, leaving an 1/8 of an inch from each cardboard corner. I'm also using double-sided tape on the inner edges before wrapping the cardstock around. Then I'm using the liquid glue generously to adhere it forever. The edges will be done with a bone folder, like wrapping a parcel. When folding the cover, we need to be very careful not to break the folds. As all of the pages have a little cardstock frame, I decided to do that with the cover as well. I'm using the same page of the 12x12 and the 8x8 pack for the front and the back. Afterwards, I'm fixing a ribbon of self-adhering lace around all the edges of the design papers except for the ones close to the spine. For the closure, I'm using a knob that I found at the flea market and fix it with the screw on the inside. A rope that I made by using a macrame knot technique, I'm threading through 2 holes in the back cover and generously gluing it down on the inside. And now everything will be put together. We are starting with the binding that I'm adhering with liquid glue as well and pressing it firmly onto the inner spine. The outer spine will be covered with a matching piece of stone paper, which I already introduced in my faux leather steampunk album. By adhering this with liquid glue as well, the album gets really robust and long-lasting. Because the screw on the inside is standing out a little bit, I'm using fun foam to balance this to some extent. As the threads on the other side are less thick, some simple foam tape will do here. Both sides will now be covered by the actual pages that I prepared for them. They are a little bit wider than the standard pages to fully cover the inside of the album covers. And here you see me using some clips to adhere them closely to the cover. And for all of you who noticed that I changed the glue, I simply did that because the other was empty. So no special reason for this. The hinges of the binding will now be covered with double-sided tape on both sides. But nevertheless, I'm additionally using liquid glue to really secure the pages. The pages immediately stick to the tape when plugged onto the hinges and permanently adhere to them once the liquid glue is dry. Please keep in mind that the pages are a little bit heavy and will slip off over time when only using the tape. And as soon as all pages are in, it's time to do the embellishments. And as usual, I have some photos for you. The one or the other detail might be seen much better here. All the supplies I was using are listed in the description box below as usual. And as said before, you will find a table of content there as well to jump within this video. And so, I'm hoping that you had fun and got inspired. And if you did, I would love to get a thumbs up and a comment. If this is your first visit here, I would love to have you subscribe. If you like my arts, this is the easiest way to get informed immediately if a new video is uploaded. For more inspiration, you can click on the vids on the page, use the info cards or the links in the description box if you are watching from a mobile device. Many thanks for watching and hope to catch you next time again. Bye bye!